Hey everybody, look who's back. Welcome. It's been a while since we've done one of these. You have to go back as far as June to the last time that we did a weekend trader video. Actually, it is Monday evening tonight, August 29th. Summer is coming to an end here. I thought I would kick one of these out. So much for the plan at the beginning of the year to keep these going all year long. But catch up on a few things. Admittedly, doing, as I've tweeted with some of my rare tweets lately, doing some bit of self-centering during these past few months, struggling with where trading fits into my life, struggling a little bit with how active to be in this wonderfully, incredibly interesting world of social media, where I have clearly backed off very much as I did in the mid 2000s when I decided that I needed to focus a little bit more on myself, and focus being a real strong issue. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But focus on my own trading, but more on my life, more on where trading fits into my life, more on sustaining a peak performance mindset, and again, trying to find out where social media fits into that. So I will back off from time to time, as I have in years past. Traditionally, when I've done that, it's because I'm doing some kind of centering. And I was off the grid for a couple of years in the mid 2000s, and that of course led to quite a few years in the late 2000s, and so I think it's natural for us to go back and forth. Those of us that are in the public media, I'm going to share a lot of thoughts with you tonight, in no particular order, no particular sequence of importance, but maybe some things that these past few months have taught me or have reinforced with me, given I've been doing this going on 20 years. I'm 55 now, and again, hopeful that as I've said in the book, and as I've said in many of the thousands now posts, blog entries, etc., that you can glean something out of this in order for you to maybe, cure an ill, or get you off the schneid, or just help you put things in perspective. So, I'll ramble a little bit tonight, admittedly. Ask for your indulgence for that, but it's been a while, so I think I'm entitled, right? And yes, I am tan. It has been a wonderful summer here on the Cape. I have taken as much advantage as I can, mostly during weekends and during the midday time period, to try to do a little bit for me. This is probably the most tanned I have been ever. And I'm still, for those interested, many of you know that I began the Nutrisystem program back in February. Got down to about 175 or so by early summer. Started about 205, 210, somewhere around there. And I'm staying stable. I'm at 170 at my high school weight. Feel good. Feel energized, but there's a continuing challenge, especially at this point in my career, in terms of focus. So let's talk about a few things. I have not spent much time on Twitter at all lately. I know the follower count has jumped quite a bit, even though I've not been fairly active. I'm not sure what that means, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've tweeted lately, including, if I call it up here, a couple of polls that I put out there late. Was it late last week? When was it? On the 26th. Yeah, late last week. So I put out two questions. The first one was, how important do you view personal momentum in terms of trading success? And you could choose from very important, somewhat important, or not relevant. 72% of those responding said it was very important. 20% somewhat, and 8% not relevant, which is interesting. And then I followed that up with another question. How important do you view being personally and spiritually centered in terms of trading success? And 75%, a little bit higher number, said it was very important. 13% somewhat important, and 12% not relevant. And as with much of these sorts of things, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. All I can share, as I've done from the minute I started opening up my mouth, many years ago here, is share what I've learned, what's worked for me. It's factual, it's objective, it's not opinion, it's reality. But it is certainly reality based on my tangible results, good, bad, or indifferent. And to talk about the first one, first of all, I do view personal momentum incredibly important. Incredibly important. Now, I'm talking about discretionary traders. I'm not talking about those who follow black boxes or even gray boxes. I'm talking about discretionary traders. Those of us that have tried like heck to hone a skill over time. We're standing in the batter's box. We are called upon to read the pitches as they are being delivered based on our experience, and ride that personal momentum wave as long as we can. It's interesting for those of you that follow baseball, and especially those that follow the Red Sox. Dustin Pedroia recently had, 11 consecutive at-bats where he had hits, 10 or 11, and he was one short of the major league record before he broke it the other night. And it's that sort of thing that, a lot of people say, well, personal momentum is not important, or, it's impossible to get 12 straight hits, just like it's impossible to go through a quarter and have only 3 losing days, as some have accused me of at times. But it happens, and it may not be the norm, but it happens, and it's all about personal momentum. It's about confidence. It's about being in that groove, and it's about being in that one place where to use the baseball analogy, again, the baseball looks like a watermelon. Or maybe at least a grapefruit coming at you. And these things cycle. These things cycle, just like the market cycles. The market has cycled, from obviously extremely volatile conditions at times to very docile, to melt-up type conditions. And, it's important for us as traders, just like it's important for batters at the plate, to recognize, what's at play? What's at play in our own life in terms of cycle and momentum? And then what's in play in terms of the market's life, in terms of cycle and momentum. And it's when those two things come together, I think I mentioned in the book at some point, that it's really the perfect storm. When the market is gelling in whatever rhythm it may be in, that fits perhaps your strike zone, if you will. And when the market's doing that, and then when you're in that same groove, it's a match made in heaven. The trades can roll off your fingers, they roll off your hands. It seems like you can do no wrong, and certainly you've got to keep your ego in check every time you prepare for a sequence or execute a sequence. But it is a perfect marriage, and it can happen. It can go on and on and on, and it can snowball. It can snowball, and I hope over time you've seen that in my own trading, both to the upside and during plateau periods. And just as it's true in the upside, it can also be true on the downside, and in terms of just staying in a plateau, in terms of finding yourself in this cycle, whether it's a mental cycle or a market cycle. Take the exact opposite of what I just referenced, which is, let's say the market is not in the particular rhythm that is really your strength. And at the same time, you are not in your own rhythm. That's the perfect hell, if you will. And as easily as you can accumulate earnings and grow earnings exponentially, on the one hand, you can also do the same on the downside, obviously. We've used analogies over the past few years of poker players who have seen both sides of that, and were not able to, in those down times, either in terms of the market rhythm or their own rhythm or both, have not been able to pull back. And I've seen myself get caught in that at times, and it's very important for me to step back and try to assess, what my results are telling me, and is it me or is it the rhythm or what? Because I have a tendency to be a fairly active trader. I'm usually incurring what I will call some bait cost in terms of purchasing the bait and losing the bait. And at times it has taken me longer in terms of duration to make that adjustment, or to realize that something's going on and slow down and put the brakes on. And I've seen a lot of that happening this summer as I watch traders, as I look at my own results, and as I look at a lot of the social media buzz, if you will, which the longer I'm exposed to it, and many of you know, I held back for a long time, especially with Twitter, for reasons that have now become also clear to me, because it does take a lot of self-centering and self-focus. And I'm rambling here a bit, but it's been very clear that the market has had a very distinct rhythm over the past several months, which has been different from the Brexit rhythm and past rhythms. And you either have to see it and adapt to it, as we talk about in terms of the jellyfish mantra, right? The jellyfish is all about feeding off the ocean current that you are placed in, right? You cannot force yourself. A jellyfish cannot force itself anywhere. A jellyfish has to feed off of where the ocean puts it. And the same thing in terms of trading. And that's why that concept is so very important to me, both in my own trading and in teaching traders. So it's either, adapt or back off. And there's always going to be this transition time if you're trying to adapt, where you may hit that plateau for a bit. But it's been my experience, and I'll go to my grave knowing that when you're in tune and still have your whereabouts about you, in terms of mental capacity and tenacity in this trading business, you should be able to adapt far greater than a black box or a gray box. But if you can't do that, then you've got to back off and just wait and be patient. I've had some plateaus this summer that I've had to deal with. I am not the best trader in terms of docile markets. I've been trying very carefully to manage the trading sequences based on opportunity, based on when I see there's both opportunity in terms of market cycle and opportunity in terms of my own cycle. And it's gotten a little bit more difficult for me, admittedly, as the older I've gotten, the more that I've been in this business, in order to find where does trading fit in my life. Where does trading fit in my in terms of priority? And admittedly, it's at a lower priority now than it had been, let's say, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, because I'm it has nothing to do with earnings anymore. I have more than I'll ever need. But the reason I want to continue to do this is I want to continue to push myself. I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to battle the inner demons that I may still have in my own life and in my own trading. And it's something that is forever, will forever be important to me as long as I have breath here. And so, I've spent quite a bit of this summer, again, relaxing a bit, getting some sun, but trading every day. Doing most of my trading, and I've said this many, many times, outside of the U.S. RTH hours. It has been the seldom occasion, if you look back at the markets over the past, couple of years, it has been the seldom occasion where money is made. And I don't want to say easy money because there's no such thing, but where the market has just had these crisp, clear technical setups, very seldom during the U.S. hours. And getting back to social media, for example, I still don't understand, whether it's a chat room or whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever it may be. I don't understand why there's so much active chatter during the 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time zone in the U.S., and then it almost dies afterward, when most of the fertile activity is outside of the U.S. hours. Now, there are going to be exceptions there, but I'll call it, I'll be conservative, 75-25, 75% ETH during Europe and during Asian hours, and 25% during U.S. I think that's being gracious in terms of U.S. opportunity. Friday was a good example where there's tremendous opportunity in the U.S. market, but it's been rare, and I don't think we'll get much disagreement with that. So why is it that there's so much noise, not in terms of the market action certainly, but in terms of social media? Why is there so much noise during this time frame when it may arguably be more dangerous to trade intraday, and I also don't understand people that have not made that transition. They've not made that transition from this pit hour mentality. And I get the fact that the equities are trading, but frankly, it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't. It's almost a 24/5 business, and they go in cycles. When it's active and the setups are there during RTH in the U.S., great. God bless you. Go for it. But if it's not, you've got to expand, and I have to expand my horizon, knowing that I can't just say, like, I trade from this time period to this time period. If you do and you want to do this part-time and that's your business plan, again, that's fine. But if you're looking to maximize opportunity and maximize income, it'll never work. It'll never work. You've got to make yourself available. I have to make myself available to the entire time that the market is open, because I don't know when the fish are going to be biting, and I don't know when that pool of fish or school of fish is going to move from over here, where they've been for weeks on end, to over here, and then I've got to make that adjustment. And that's important to me, to identify and to align with what's happening. And I can't limit myself to a window that is archaic. Okay. Another thought is that I found that the majority of the setups, if you are trading US ETH or RTH hours, is actually right before RTH. It's between 9 and 9:30 Eastern. And today was a great example. And I'll say I think another challenge a lot of people have is they're either just waking up, or they're using the 9 and 9:30 time as prep time. And I know there's some services and some decent services out there that kind of do the preview, and I think a lot of them. I think they do a great job. I am challenged with them doing it between 9 and 9:30, because they're addressing the RTH time frame, which in many cases most of the fertile activity has already taken place, or that prime setup is coming right between 9 and 9:30 when oil starts trading a little bit more actively. Certainly volume comes in at 9:30, no doubt about it. But, I'm the type of trader, and the years have taught me, rightfully so, that it's much easier to shoot fish in a barrel versus fish that are jumping all over the place. And many times I know that I've tweeted comparisons of Europe's setup and Europe's bars, the first, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, versus the U.S. session, regular session. And it's like night and day. If you get really great at getting that entry while the market is just going spastic, you're better than me, and you may be. That may be the case. But I'll tell you, that's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. To find the entries when the market is setting up, but in a way that you can get some size and you can get some meat and you can manage some risk without it going all over the place. And many times, this morning was a great example, 9 and 9:30. And if you are trying to prep during that time, I would suggest strongly that you move that prep time up. You get up earlier and you prep at maybe 8 or 8:30 at the latest, knowing that there's a lot of times where economic data comes out at 8:30. But move that time frame up, because I would challenge you and strongly suggest that you're missing those entry opportunities. Again, in the case of this morning, it was very interesting, because clearly we had resistance at 69.70 from Friday. But once we started holding above that, I don't care whether you used moving averages. I don't care if you use volume profiling. We're looking at VWAP overnight. I mean, all of these charts, whether it was the ruler or the yardstick or the measuring tape, they were all suggesting that as long as you held above that level, it was IIAGD if it ain't going down, and who was stuck type of trading. But it was all setting up so that when that bell opened at 9:30 and you held that level, you could have gotten an entry in. Although I noticed that I think a swim crashed at 9:30 for many people. Another reason, depending upon what platform you're using, that you should try to get it in a little bit earlier, and then add when you get the confirmation, add when you get F6 confirmation, add when you see the market confirming what you're doing. But you got to get at least the line in the water. And if you're not mentally ready to do that at that point in time, and you're just sitting back and waiting, then that may be the only entry for the day. Again, these things go in cycles, but just a thought that I've certainly noticed as the summer's gone on. Boy, what else? The second question, being personally and spiritually centered, and I'm sure there will be some discussion, some debate on this. Hopefully you know where I stand in terms of my spiritual life. I consider myself to be a forever stumbling, bumbling Christian. Certainly nothing to boast about, but recognizing that when I am centered, when I am in line with where I need to be, then my trading, it goes very, very well. And when I am not in line with where I need to be on a spiritual basis, and that happens, it happens many, many times, my trading is far from optimal. And I know that. I've got objective data. I will go to my grave, knowing that is the case for me. And it seems like at least those responding, 75% of the people also consider that to be a very important aspect. Again, we're not talking about just system stuff. We're talking about discretionary trading. You've got to be mentally sharp. You have that extra glass of wine, or if you're indulging a little bit during the week, why don't you hold off until the weekend? If you're not getting the sleep, get the sleep. And I know that flies right in the face of trading European hours and Asian hours, and I get that, okay? But we have to somehow manage our lives in such a way where we're able to be active when the market is fertile, and we have to be mentally alert when the market is fertile. It's like the fishermen that have to be fishing at 3 or 5 to 5 in the morning. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty tough. You can do it. You just got to work harder and that sort of thing. But in terms of being spiritually centered, was it John Wooden? I'll try to get a link to this post in this one. There was a great write-up on John Wooden from years and years ago, a great basketball coach, and he talked a little bit about this, and I wholeheartely agree with that. I'm sure some people trade very, very well who may not be spiritual, who may not be centered, maybe spiritually have a spiritual mindset but not be centered, and it may not matter to you. I got an interesting thought here from Brian, who responded to that survey, and I completely agree with this. If I can find it here, he talks about it gets back to the focus issue, right? Gets back to see what it is here. Distractions. Distractions are an issue on peak performance, but being centered is not. One final thought. Once the screen turns on, I'm centered and hunting my prey. The screen going on itself centers me. I completely agree with that. Completely agree with that. Focus distractions, they're probably the number one enemy, and I'll close with this. It gets back to the whole social media comment. I still do not understand, and I guess I never will, why there's so much energy put into posting on social media. I do it. I've tried real hard to do quality over quantity. I've tried real hard to do it only occasionally, and only when it's not going to interfere with my trading. Because I know for a fact that any amount of energy that I expend typing during the trading hours, you're shifting your focus. Your focus goes to typing. And why are we doing that? It may be to satisfy our ego. It may be that if you're in a chat room that you just feel that you have this urge to just, I don't get it, because if you channel that energy, if you redirected that energy into performance, it'd be like the batter in the batter's box or the poker player at the poker table. Then instead of focusing and leveraging and increasing their size and everything, they're intentionally distracting themselves, and I would suggest self-sabotaging themselves. Because the focus is not there. And with others, it may be just you're looking at emails or web, or I'll tell you, right when you feel like you need to start doing that, it's likely when that market's going to provide that opportunity that you're going to miss out on. It's going to happen time and time again, because the market, we know, will not move to a certain level, or will not engage as it expects to engage, or as we expect it to engage based on our experience, usually until everybody gives up. And giving up in this day and age is largely when people become less focused. They become complacent, even if it's just for that 2 or 3 minute window or the 30-second window when, oh man, it's boring, go over here, type, and oh, look how good I'm doing, look as I'm doing, oh my goodness. Or even if you're in a trade that's successful, it could be more successful. So I would challenge all of us, including myself, as we gear up for the fall, when volatility hopefully improves, to look at what we're doing, look at what we're spending our day on, and redirecting ourselves in a way that we are able to optimize our focus, optimize our momentum, such that we've got that part of this life, this game, which we can control. We have complete control over where we are. We have less control. We have no control over where the market is and the cycle that it's in. So if we can at least control this part of it, and I've been, again, the older I get, I've had to compensate. I had to lose, close to 40 pounds. I had to take some time off. I've had to re-energize so that I can be focused not only for now in the current trading sequences, but for the fall and for years to come. So I've had to make some tweaks. I can't get away anymore with some of the things I used to get away with in terms of abusing my body, if you will. So, a little bit of rambling, but I'm getting very encouraged by the opportunity, certainly the last few weeks. Just stay alert, stay with it. If any of these thoughts help you, great. That's why I do it. It's the only reason that I do it. I don't need name recognition. Been there, done that. Probably gone overboard in the past. I'm going to keep my presence available from time to time. We will certainly keep at least once a year. We'll consider doing the live training efforts. But in the meantime, I'm trading, and it's a business that I will never leave. It's a passion I hope to never lose. Sometimes it's just a degree of where that passion may be at a certain point in time. Hope that helps you. Hope your trading's going well. Get some final rest and relaxation if that's what you're doing between now and after Labor Day, and we'll try to get a little bit more active here after the holiday. But have a great trading week. God bless you. Take care. Bye.